following International Women's Day last week and a chance to have agribusiness leaders from Mexico with us for a very special presentation. Please sign in and say hello. Let us know who's here. We should be having roughly around 40 people or so that will be joining. I'm going to turn it over to Rebecca Popara to give us a little bit of background on how our technology is going to work this morning. Rebecca?
Good morning, Carrie. Thank you. Today's conversation will take place in both English and Spanish, and to help facilitate that translation, we're partnering with Wordly AI translation. You can see on the screen, you can either join by scanning the QR code with your phone or by selecting the link, which I've shared in the chat as well. Then you simply select the language you would like to follow the meeting in, and then read or listen in closed captions, either on your phone or in a separate tab alongside this meeting. Feel free to chat me in the Zoom chat, and I can help you if you have any technological issues. But we will start our meeting off in English. Additionally, today's slides can be found on our webpage and our event page in English, Spanish, and French. I'm pasting that link in the chat now if you would like to follow along in your language as well. Back to you, Carrie.
Thanks, Rebecca. And welcome everyone again. If you've come in just in the last few minutes, please take a look at how we're going to conduct the meeting both in Spanish and English. Our slides will be in English to start, so we just want to let you know that. And then we have the option, though, we'll go for half an hour of presentation from Patricia and Luz, and then move into Q&A together, and then an opportunity to hear from you. So it's a very informal and chance for us to be together. So I want to thank Patricia Toledo and Luz Najera for joining us, two leaders in agribusiness from Mexico with many years of experience in this field. Patricia is currently the agribusiness sector and business sustainability vice president, correct, Patricia?
It is correct.
And thank you. And working at the vice president of sustainability and social responsibility of the National Agricultural Council. She will give a little bit more background about herself in a moment. I also want to mention she's the former director of the corporate affairs and sustainability of Syngenta in Latin America. And Luz Najera will be our moderator. Luz is also a steering committee member for the NAAAN. For 22 years, she's been at Ingredion, and the last 3 years has served as the vice president of global government affairs for Ingredion, based in Chicago. And Luz can tell you where she's taking this meeting from today. But we're very excited to have them with us in celebration, as I mentioned, last week of International Women's Day, and the chance to really hear from two agribusiness leaders in this space and in this participation and collaboration with the NAAAN. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Patty to introduce herself first, and we'll start the slides, and then to Luz.
Thank you, Carrie, and good morning to everyone. Greetings, team colleagues, and welcome to this NAAAN webinar. I'm absolutely excited and thrilled to be here with all of you today, and I'm totally believer in the power of networking and collaboration, and I'm confident that this webinar will provide us an invaluable platform for us to connect, share ideas and experience. As Kerry said, I'm Patricia Toledo. I'm the Vice President of Sustainability and Social Responsible Companies in the National Council of Agriculture. I have been 24 years of experience in the agribusiness, and totally honored to be here, really sharing about my experience in this month, in which we are really recognizing the backbone that the woman is in the agri-food sector. So thank you to all. Those you can advance to the slide, please. And I just not to go just one before, sorry, in the first one in my presentation, Rebecca. Just put the scan, the QR in the scan. You can scan it just to see my profile and so on. I just want to connect it in the National Council of Agriculture, it was really important to set a specific vice president of the council to set a specific agenda for sustainability and for the social responsible companies. But I want to mention that our commitment is really to translate into the active promotion of the inclusion and respect of human rights in the workplace. So with this ultimate goal of reducing inequality and eradicating poverty is how we are advancing some action in the National Council of Agriculture. So thank you. Go ahead, Luz.
Thank you, Patty, and thank you, Carrie. Good morning to everyone. I see that in the chat is very active. I'm very happy to be this morning with everyone and connecting into this specific topic and sharing the micro with Patty, who I have known for several years. And I'm very excited today for also being, and as Carrie mentioned, I'm gonna share with you that today I am very excited. I am taking this opportunity to speak from the Chicago High School for Agricultural Sciences. That is an amazing place that I have been engaged for a couple of years in the board. And today was held the Business Advisory Board meeting, which is an exciting opportunity. For those that are not familiar about CHAS, it's a high school that is part of the education system here in the Chicagoland area in Illinois, and it's fully dedicated to agriculture. The students have an opportunity to develop around the 4 years of their high school years under the different areas of agriculture. So it's an amazing place, and I'm very excited to be this morning from here. And as Carrie mentioned, company Ingredion, those familiar with Ingredion. Ingredion is a leading global ingredient solutions provider, plant-based provider. We turn plant-based materials into value-added solutions that are used in many sectors of industry, mainly in the food, beverage, bakery, but also in many other. And it's amazing, to learn and to know how the technology and nature combined with great people make life better for everyone, trying to provide different ingredients that are used in our day-by-day life. You will be surprised as me to learn how much over these 25 years I have learned of the power of agriculture in our day-by-day lives. And I'm very excited to be also part of NAAAN, that since we have been connected last year and they received the invitation to be part of the board and steering committee, sorry. I'm very excited to know about the power of this network, because I truly believe that together we can really move, and make great things. So farming and agriculture and the agri sector are vital for everyone's daily life. And that's a little bit of what Patty and I would like to share with everyone today about the role of women, in the agriculture in Mexico. What we have learned over the years, or some of information that is available, and try to start a conversation. This is intent, to have a conversation, and probably some at the end we can have some reflections and conclusions. And just to give you another part of introduction from myself, I'm a lawyer. I studied law, and I never imagined when I started my career that I was going to be so deeply involved in the agriculture and agribusiness sector. So I have been experiencing and working in this industry for, as I mentioned, for a long time, and I really have learned of this power, and that's why drives me to continue to work and to continue to promote and bring some value to the network. So Patty and I, in order to provide this and have this as a great conversation, we put some of the questions. We were thinking about some of the questions that probably will be good to respond today. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Rebecca. One of the main questions that came to our minds is what are the biggest challenges, no? Talking about women and the development in the sector, what are the main challenges on the sector in Mexico and how they can be addressed? So when we were thinking about this, and Patty will have an opportunity to talk a little bit more on that, we wanted to get information, no? And we wanted to start from data. And if you can go to the next slide, Rebecca. Talking about challenges, we learned that Mexico has a very low participation of women in the agriculture. No, this is not Patty's or mine information. This is information from the INEGI. No, that is the Statistic Institute in Mexico, from the last agribusiness survey that was released in 2022. Well, what was conducted in 2022 and actually was released in 2023, and some data was also updated last year. But we learned that after the last 15 years, the women participation in the agricultural sector and specifically in the work has been decreasing. No, it went from the last or the previous census in 2007 up that was a 19.7%. It decreased to 16%, and then we can see these statistics are extremely revealing in terms of the small portion of the workforce that the women represent in this sector. No, if you compare these to the U.S., for an example that we were able to find out the data around, the U.S. has around the female producers reported in the last census is around 36-40%. So it's huge, the difference that we can see in the statistics in Mexico and in the U.S. That's one challenge. No, next, there's a low participation, but then if we go to the next slide, we can also show that part of the challenge is also that education. It has been a very low pathway of education of the people in general. This is not related to either women or men. This is not breakdown into that information, but we can see that education continues to be in a low range, even that has been an improvement, and is reported an improvement, especially on the education level of the people working agriculture, going from 2.9 to 7 with a high school degree and a little bit more in the college degree. This continues to be very a small portion, So that's also why I'm very excited to see that there are exercises where since the high school and elementary school, the agricultural sciences are put front of the kids' minds, because that helps to start shaping and developing the mindset of the new generations in the labor and the workforce development. And another challenge that we see, and if we can go also to the next slide, another challenge that we see is related to the lack of support and financial support for women. But I'm gonna let Patty to walk us through the other data that we were able to bring to the conversation.
Thank you, Luz. I know those are powerful statistics really that we are seeing here, and it's something that we want to share. But the first message probably that I would like you to share is that the role of women in the agri-food sector is both is vital and it's multifaceted. But we are really the backbone of the food production. Really, our tireless effort ensuring the communities flourish, and the role that we got in all this food production is essential. Just to say from all these statistics, we represent approximately 34% of the agricultural labor force in Mexico, but we play a key role in the food production, processing, and distributing. It's not just, I'm saying, for the primary role, it really has a whole value chain in which we are contributing. And as well, the rural women are responsible for 60-80% of our production worldwide, meaning So probably, but mainly in Mexico, we are really with a rural woman, particularly in subsistence farming and small scale agriculture. So these represent the focus and the importance and the strategic role that the woman got for the food production. Despite all these contribution and so on, we can also understand some gaps because only 20% of women in rural Mexico have the access to land ownership, and fewer than 10% have access to the credit and financial services. So here is the statistics just to show how are the progress, but as well the opportunities that we got, that why we need to put a agenda and all of these. It's not just because if it is male or it is female, it's because we are talking about the sustainable development of Mexico and the countries and so on. And it's something important to share as well with you is the economic impact. So if women reinvest up to 90% of their income into their families and the communities compared to the 30 or 30% of the men, highlighting the overall in the improving the food security and rural development. So it's not just about to increase the incomes as a woman. It's because the woman also retribute that to the communities and for the rural prosperity and the community prosperity. So it is important that we want to share as well here with the men and female, how can we increase, the support for women overall. So the second key message is that then empowering women in agriculture actually will increase agricultural yields by 20-30% and potentially reducing hunger by 12 and 60 and 70% in Mexico. Actually, these are statistics that are based on some studies and so on with INEGI and some others international. So that's why we're saying it's not just about how are we contributing, it's the potential that we got in Mexico to reduce hunger and so. So that's another key message that we would like to share with you as well. The next one, please. And just to say as well in the challenges, then the challenges that we're facing on this and how to put it together. So if you see all these statistics and all these criteria, these challenges paint a clear picture of the systemic obstacles the woman facing and the agriculture. So it's not just one on another. So I wanted to say and to share that it's a holistic view to address all these challenges. So limited access to education and technology hinders the ability to innovate. While cultural norms often exclude women from the vital decision-making process, this is some of the lacks of the gaps that we got as well to decision-making from the different perspectives and layers. Additionally, the lack of access to resources like finances, markets, not only affects their productivity, but also perpetuates in the cycles of inequality and so on. When it is when all these barriers, we need to just to mention all these barriers, to put it in the opportunities that we got in Mexico and in the countries to address these challenges, to increase education, access resources for the community support, and we will move forward on that. But I want you to reflect on these first slides and conversation about these challenges, but thinking already how can this shift these challenges from the opportunities in the public policies, in the private sector, and in the communities that we are working on. This one, please. So then, if we see all these challenges and let's say how to can turn these to the opportunities, let's talk about how women contribute to the innovation and sustainability in the Mexican agriculture. Let's go deeper on this. Go ahead, please, Rebecca. Luz, please.
Yes, thank you, Patty. I'm gonna, no, Rebecca can help us with the slide and I can help to translate the information. And I think coming now from the ideas that we were previously sharing, there are important challenges, but that doesn't mean that we are not advancing, no? There is an enormous opportunity, no? Women's are the 50% of Mexico's population. No, and when we identify that the agriculture sector is such an important, not also for local consumption, but we have seen the power of Mexico exporting a lot of the goods that we have. We see that this is a great opportunity in order to move the needle. Another opportunity that Patricia was talking about definitely is around education. No, if we can step and increase the level of education on the women in general in Mexico, but specifically in this field of agriculture, we can move the needle in a very significant way. Access to financial support that is also in a low range, that will change us to help. And from these, there has been some advance and focus with specifically with the new administration. We have seen some kind of improvement around the focus on the role of women and the support that women can bring. And there is a specific effort at this point to be made around bringing the ownership of lands and bringing also financial support and education to women. So those are the things that women are already trying to advance and break that barrier that today is set it up on there. So if we can go to the next slide. We have been discussing about these challenges and the things that women are doing. Also, women are now moving in different roles on the agriculture sector in the business, not only in the farming, but moving on onto the business segment. And this was something that Patricia and I reflected about. No, when we saw the numbers, we say, oh yeah, but then we see also the numbers of other women in the complete network, and that's a value, because then women can empower other women, and that's extremely powerful in terms of learning about experience. But then we also need to get the foundation to establish a deep advance in these gaps and in these challenges. So what are the role of the policies and the financial programs and what the role that these play in supporting female farmers and the agribusiness entrepreneur. And then we found out some very interesting information that about this that Patricia also and I were discussing. If we can go to the next time, let's slide, please. We were identifying a couple of things that were happening in today, no? There are specific programs, where we are also the Agriculture Council and other networks sponsored by private sector are trying to support the women and to try to get into to break these barriers. Also, we identify the networking opportunities in general. This is a great forum. This helps us to engage, to learn, to promote experiences, but also identify those gaps in the space. Also, in the financial sector, there are specific programs that are now moving and try to facilitate the access for women dedicated. We also saw some statistics about women bringing technology into the farming, now moving the needle for having like a specific tools or machinery, that they were not used to have. So that's relevant. And also the influence of public policies. That's something that we identify really need. It's not that it's not happening. We see that there have been some improvement benefiting the women in different areas of the labor force, but also moving the needle on the new generation and try to bring and to promote the skills and to promote the knowledge about the relevance of the agriculture side and partnership as well. No, we think that part of the way that we are going to also move the needle and go ahead of these challenges is creating collaboration and creation of spaces where women can promote practices and knowledge, and they are very important institutions are already working on that, like CMIT, that they have also these networks that where not only women, but also everyone can be supported by these actions. So, Patty, I don't know if there's anything else that we would like to add about these things that we were able to identify.
I think we can move to the next slide then, Luz, because it's exactly like that. It's how can we put all this together and how can we encourage more women to take the leadership roles in the agriculture and agribusiness. And personally, I can share really that is something that really inspired me to be one of these persons that can help others, but as well to open, this road for another woman in the agribusiness was a really awesome sector to be with. So let's move to the next one, Rebecca. And then here's something that Luz and me, we say that, okay, with this forum, we want to make a call to action. So how can we encourage ourselves, women, but men as well, to put much more efforts on this agenda and encourage to take the leadership roles in the agriculture and in the agribusiness? Has something essential for fostering a more inclusive and progressive sector. So it is traditionally has been about the men, taking their leadership roles on this. But as Luz was saying, we're making progress. We made a lot of progress during the last few years, probably, but there's still a lot to do. So this highlights is that call to action for every one of us, even in the role that we got in the public sector, in the private sector, in the NGOs, in the academic. As I said before, this is an holistic approach in which we need to be together, acting together, and putting some actions. And just to mention and highlight some of these, for instance, in the public sector, let's implement the gender responsive policies that address structural inequalities. As we know, for instance, in Mexico, we got, let's say, so sometimes we got like a three Mexicos, if I can say so, the north, the middle, and the south. And it's different reality. So let's think in Mexico and in the countries in how can we set a specific public policy to increase the bar of that leadership that they already got in the communities. As well, allocate greater funding to women-focused agriculture initiative in ensuring sustained support for women to be really taking that lead in the role, and mandate and encourage women's inclusion in decision-making bodies with agricultural organizations, for instance. It is something, it's not just about the woman being in the rural and in the field, but it's how woman is as well taking these decisions in the high level perspective as well in the agribusiness, to make all this effort. But as well, if we think in the private sector, and actually we also are moving forward a lot of this agenda in the private sector, but let's think how can we invest even more in the gender inclusive value chains, have integrated approach, as I said. We need to provide even more training and resources for women farmers and collaborative public private institutions to co-create equitable opportunities on this. And then when I'm saying equitable opportunities, as well as thinking in the reality of that company on that private sector, but as well in the possibilities that each one of the companies and the value chain have together to increase all these opportunities and compensations. And for the stakeholders, let's advocate for gender equality in the agriculture. Let's share best practices and support initiatives that empower women, have leaders, and has innovative person in Mexico in the food systems. As I said, in our experience, we believe that we did a lot of progress lately, but as well as how can we put even more effort to close this gap that still exists in the country. So when we say that we want to workforce to attract a new workforce development, it's part of the sustainable model that we believe that we need to attract all these new workforce for the agriculture. We believe that if we promote the agribusiness mindset, a technology incorporation in the farming and the agribusiness model, the workforce will be sustainable, but because we will show show how the agribusiness are really much more profitable. How can we, the youth, being really attractive on this sector in order to be much more successful, even than the previous generation. So it's still something work to do in order to show and to prove how all this agenda is as well profitable for the new families, and how can we attract even more workforce on this site. So then, by addressing the role of this impact of women in the agriculture and fostering a stronger public-private sector in collaboration, we address the role by impacted of women in the agriculture. Mexico can build much more inclusive, resilient, and sustainable agriculture. So this is something that is for us the call to action for everyone that is in this call. How can we think in put all this agenda really thinking about the sustainable development of our country? Mexico has cited to another countries, but really, how can we put all this action together and be much more closing these gaps that we already show? Next one, Rebecca, please. And then, Luz, probably that we can talk about all these strategies and the success stories that demonstrate the impact of women in transforming rural economies. There is something that we can share together. If we move forward to show to all of this audience some specific stories in which we believe we are already making that progress, but as well showing the opportunities. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Patty. As you were talking about, as we were reflecting and preparing for today's conversation, we were able to find some important examples of things that are occurring, no, in terms of support these efforts. And we were being able of also the role that partnerships between private and public sector play, no, to really advance. And we consider this is instrumental to move the needle and to try to promote. There are some specific efforts related, like companies that are, for an example, signing agreements for programs to provide education or technical efforts on the, I know like Walmart Foundation was working to try to bring a program that aims at more than 200 women are going to be succeeding into the coffee, no, into the coffee development and cocoa, a very important, no, productions for the Mexico value chains, and that are important in generally. So we see these kind of efforts, but also we have been watching how the public sector has been advancing in programs like Sembrando Vida, no? This is a program that started a few years ago in this administration, looking how to improve the quality of the education and support for the members in the agriculture, and to secure, no, that they are going to be selling their products into the markets in a good in a good model. Also, we have also some example about Producción del Bienestar, where also has a strong focus on gender and those components to improve the quality and to support women in agriculture. So an important thing that we have seen as an effort from the private sector, and I think the National Agricultural Council has also been a very good sponsor and supporter of this effort, is to try to drive the transformation of the agriculture by integrating the different channels and the practices, not only from a sustainability point of view, but also to try to integrate the different supply chains and to show, no, the power of this network, and also try to use certain models. No, I mentioned the CMIT before, and try to bring those models into operate and promote how women can develop. So we think these efforts not only are unique for the women, for the entire, no, sector, but these really help to promote and how to change the narrative on the women's performance, no. In general, we have also testified that Latin America is one of the areas where agriculture is difficult for sector for women, no, because there, as Patty was highlighting, we identify a lot of challenges that come also from the social and the economic aspect. And having this focus into these networks and organization brings the opportunity for women to move ahead and be benefit of these programs. We work also as part of the network of different trade chambers and associations in some the development of goals, no, and the development of practices with the United Nations model, no, to try to advance and establish in the workforce environment some programs that will also make women to feel secure and to work in an environment where the ideas are respected. And I think that's also very important, no, when we are talking about practices. I don't know, Patty, if you want to talk a little bit more for the program on Mujeres en el Sector Agrícola y Responsabilidad Social de las Empresas. I think that was one of the findings that surprised us in a positive way to see part of the advance.
Luz, and just shortly, well, probably let me share a story in the public sector field. There is a cooperative in Oaxaca, for instance. Oaxaca is in the south of Mexico, for those persons that are out of Mexico. Some cooperatives empower women by combining their skills and resources to generate incomes through traditional crafts and agricultural activities. And they also promote the social gender equality. So they are increasing the income for these women in that state. Just to mention something that a program that has been really in place in this public-private sector in one of the states that it is needed. But then in the private sector, in the National Council of Agriculture, I'm proud to say that we made, as I say, a lot of efforts, and we integrate all these stories in this report that is the voluntary report for the SDGs. There's here in the corner, you got a QR in where you can just scan it and you can download the full report just for the evidence. But something that when we were quite surprised on this is how the companies, we were all doing all these efforts, to decrease this gap that we were already identified in the value chain, in the primary, in the input services, in the food, in the agri-food sector by itself has a value chain. It's something for us to mention and that we were proud of is that we are integrating already this effort as well in another quite a much more systemic approach. For instance, I want to mention the iForest initiative. iForest is an NGO that's really focusing the fair labor for the value chain in the agri-food sector. Is doing a lot of great work here. And something that they are integrating by itself is how can the companies fund some of these programs for women to provide trainings, for provide better services for women. For instance, if the woman need to go for 6 hours of labor and they got their children, they need to put the children somewhere and someone needs to take care of these children. So there are some programs, for instance, just to mention one, in which the private sector, the private companies are funding all these services in order to support these women so they can be in the fair labor, and they can be, in fair conditions for them to work and to be really thinking that the children, the family are doing well. Or for instance, that the woman that normally they are, the one who is doing the feed and they provide the food in the house. So there are some programs that as well are supporting and funding all these initiatives for their families. So in order that the woman can be, let's say, aside of the house, but as well they can be working and they can be, assuring that they're feeding their families somehow. So there are some specific programs like this, and I'm mentioning iForest. I'm going to have that webinar, I think next week. But they are really training. They're really putting all these efforts together. But at iForest, there are another ones from different companies, from as Heineken, has PepsiCo, some others that we put in the report, that we write in the report, in order to identify best practice and share all of this. And last but not least, I want to mention as well the CIMIT, because I saw that there are CIMIT, some persons from CIMIT in this call. I'm totally excited about that. And in CIMIT, they got the hub systems. No, the hub systems they got gender is the approach, and here I think that's the person here in this call, so probably at the end she can share a little bit more. But something that they as well they're doing, they put in a lot of an effort and worldwide, but as I said, in Mexico there is a specific headquarter here in Mexico, so they provide all these best practices as well, and how they put in all these systems across the country, and mainly from the south of Mexico as well. So just to mention some key practices that are already on land, they are landed in the states in which we can learn, but as well it's an inspiration to move forward on this. Go
Yeah,
ahead for the
thank
next
you,
one.
Patty. I think that is amazing, and part of the conclusions that Patty and I had while we were discussing what to share today with you is that also there are many challenges still in the area. There has been some progress, and I think that's something that we can recognize and have some knowledge of the efforts that have been made and the things that are happening right now. We continue to see ongoing efforts, and I think it's important that public, private sector, and these networks work together in an alignment and sharing knowledge and sharing best practices in order to, and success stories, of course, and in order to empower and continue to make significant advances. But the other thing that about this is that it's super important to continue to accelerate the mindset and shift the programs and continue to get education in the front of the needs and the actions and efforts to be made. We understand that it's a pivotal role of education, and we need to continue to empower and develop the next generation in the workforce, and to develop the workforce for the future, in order to make agriculture and the agribusiness an area that people is excited to be a part, that we understand that as we are adapting new technologies, and that we are bringing new things to the equation, is exciting. And as I shared initially with all of you, it doesn't matter, I think, what your background and professionally is. When you learn and when you are integrated and you see the power of the sector, it becomes great to identify the areas that everyone can support these efforts. And I don't know, Patty, if you want to take the some other takeaways that we discussed to conclude.
To move forward to the Q&A, probably is just to reinforce the let's accelerate this mindset for to think in this as an agribusiness. This is about the rural, it's about the sustainable development of the countries, how we can accelerate this mindset shifts through the education and strengthen the public institution with vision of equality and equity. And let's discuss here how can we strengthen the public-private and private-private partnerships in order to move this agenda forward, the efforts, and let's think together and how can we support one to each other. It's just like this. So just for the takeaways. Thank you, Luz and Carrie, to move forward to the Q&A better.
Yeah, thank you. I think this takes us into a very interesting conclusions. We see numbers, we saw the big challenges, but also if we think about this as a great opportunity to continue to evolve and to make stronger the sector. And then we identify and we continue to do these partnerships. I see there's a great opportunity to move forward and continue to advance the work and recognize the work that women are doing in the agriculture sector, among others. So turning to Carrie, please help us to continue with the Q&A. Happy to Patty and I to talk a little bit more if we have enough time.
No, absolutely. Luz and Patty, thank you so much for that great overview. That was so interesting, and you did a wonderful job in giving us a landscape view of what is taking place in Mexico and where women are drivers and partners. And also, how are we working on workforce development across North America? I think there are so many folks that are on the call, and thank you, everybody. If you want to turn your cameras back on, if you're able to, let's have some conversation and a little discussion. If you have questions of Patty and Luz in their leadership roles as well, in the various companies that they are in, and the interface of private and public sector around extension and agricultural development, that's really the purpose of our platform, NAAAN CONNECT. So let's open it up for questions. I see some folks. Oh, and then Rebecca, do you want to mention, if you prefer to speak in Spanish and ask your question in Spanish, please do so, and we can do this wordly translation. So feel free in either Spanish or English. We'll just see. I saw some of our program committee members for the NAAAN are on the call. So maybe just identify the work you're doing and how this fits in. Ilsa, I know for sure you were there and your work is going on. Do you have a question or a comment you'd like to add? Thanks, Rebecca. We can turn that off, I think, there we go.
Hi, Carrie. Hi, everyone. Thank you, Patricia and Luz. We do have a question from one of our students here. I will let her, since she's just back here, Kia.
Yeah.
She will ask it.
My question is, what would be a way to promote equality and equity in this sector?
The quality and equity in this center.
Do you want to take?
Much? Please, guys.
Yes, thank you. I think there are two ways actually to approach all this promotion for the equity and equity. It is one of them is how can we really put much more funding as well in the trainees and in the programs to support all this labor, as I say, because we got all these stories that I was sharing, which are successful stories. With when you talk with this woman about their contribution, whatever it is, when you talk about the contribution that they're really doing in the labor that they are in the agri-food sector, they're really proud. They really that's a self-confidence, etc. There are many quality of life of this. So when you see these stories, then you say, well, how can we increase all these kind of programs in Mexico, to make all this well-being much more broader? So one is the funding is definitely therefore the private funding and the public funding as well for these kind of programs. The second one will be the trainees, because as well let's recognize that the women need to take this leadership as well and need to raise their voice, raise their hand, to provoke to promote herself, let's say so, on all these kind of roles. So there is a lot of training as well to put that in place. And last but not least, I will say that it is how can we recognize all this contribution, because it's still many stories behind that we still do not know those stories. So let's recognize ourselves that we need to increase the recognition to the women participation on all this decision making and has part of this development of the country. So it has a strategic role for the development of the countries. I will say three, not two, three. But I don't know, Luz, if I want to add something.
I probably will add two more. That is, look forward and continue to strengthen inclusive policies, and probably legal reforms that help and to support the women's leadership. No, for an example, there's probably my colleagues from Mexico will also affirm this. We know that the rural women are not in the majority of the cases the owners of the land, no, specifically talking about farming. And that's a huge challenge because sometimes it's difficult for them to be recognized, and they are working with not really the opportunity to grow the land or to make decisions on the land. So when we are talking about decision making, sometimes the legal structure, it's a challenge there. So I will encouraged to do some. I will think that's a part of the challenges, and the other is also to try to promote and to continue to have programs like the ones that we have shared today. No, we need to continue to have programs that are benefiting or supporting this development of women, not in a way that giving preference from men, but trying to put that equity into the network and try to bring that value and support. I will add those additionally, but happy to hear if there's anyone else that can share thoughts, because I think it's a big topic to discuss.
Thank you so much. I see Mark has come into. Mark, did you have a question? You came onto camera. I think you're riding your bike too, which is cool. Maybe that was a mistake. He's writing and listening. Thanks, Ilsa. And thanks, everyone. Anyone else? Adrian, I know your work on the border from the United States and also with Mexico with indigenous tribes. I'm wondering if you're able to say anything or to contribute something today. I know you're joining and also on our program committee for NAAAN CONNECT. Oh,
Okay,
Mark,
well,
did you have something? Sorry,
Uh,
Adrian, go first, and then we'll see if Mark comes back on camera.
Yeah,
Please.
just to congratulate Luz and Patricia. It's a wonderful piece of work that you showed today. It's quite amazing. We were just talking actually yesterday. I'm sorry, I'm the director of the Land Grant Office of Sustainability at the Tohono Community College. We serve indigenous people, the Tohono them. We have connections with the people in Mexico too. And one of the things is that common conversation is kind of related to what you're saying today, is that to be a farmer, it has a different kind of education model. It's not just like you go and you progress through high school, college, and you end with a degree. Sometimes it takes the whole life term in order to get this kind of wisdom and knowledge. And one of the things is quite clear in your presentation is that we need to start looking out of the box to look for ways how we appreciate the agriculture sector, particularly the traditional one, and provide the basis to recognize that a lifetime dedication to agriculture in general, it has to be rewarded, recognized, and particularly for women. The dedication it passed the terms of a degree. And maybe we need to start looking at how we can recognize the agriculture itself, even if you just have the very basic education, itself has a career.
Yeah.
And this is going to be very important for women. So I just want to put that like an idea to discuss, no, maybe not today, but in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Adrian.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I will add at the end to your comment, something that we didn't want deep into our conclusions, but we mentioned in the presentation about this challenge and to preserve cultural and traditions, and then have this integration, because it's like planting a seed that has like a multiple products in there. We need to continue to promote, to plant the seed, to make everyone be excited about the power of agriculture, but at the same time, prevail and continue to prevent our culture and our legacy, and I think that's where Mexico has a unique challenge and also an opportunity as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I want to draw our attention. I know our time is short, but we have a couple questions in the chat. One from Dr. Delgado is there. If you guys can read that, Patricia and Luz, and then Odette, also from Simit and Javier Valdez. So I want to make sure that we and then Ilsa, we've already been able to speak together. So let's answer those questions from the side, please.
Yes, I will go on first from the CIMIT, I think that's from Odette. I will say shortly in 1 minute probably is is how can we encourage the research institute and supporting public policy making is bridge the gap between research and policy. I think sometimes research and policies are going in this way, like in parallel, let's say so. So we need to cross all this and put all this together. So promote this collaborative research with public policy and the institute, for instance, and disseminate research findings effectively. So once that the research results are ready, so let's promote them and share with the science-based to policymakers, so establish all this dialogue to take decisions and enhance the capacity for the research institutes. I think we still need to put all this in the science-based and research, social, economical, public funding there as well for CIMIT. And for go ahead, Luz, do you want to add something? Just
No. I fully agree. Nothing to add. I think there has to be an alignment, on that.
Yeah. And probably for the next one, I think
Doctora
I can say that
Delgado?
in Spanish, isn't it?
Sí,
Okay.
yeah. Go ahead and we can speak in Spanish, please, for the two questions.
Por
Thank you.
ejemplo, esta de, a pesar del avance que se ha tenido del involucramiento de la mujer, estoy leyendo y cómo podríamos cambiar esa percepción en las familias por motivar a más personas del sector. Y aquí lo que me complementa Luz, pero creo que hay como 3 vías, y una es sí visibilizar el éxito de las mujeres en el campo basados en estos desafíos que mencionamos. Entonces, compartir mucho más de estas historias y premiar esta excelencia, que creo que es fundamental. Mostrar este lado moderno y tecnológico de la agricultura como parte de cómo acelerar este reconocimiento y promover esta agricultura tecnificada para que más mujeres puedan también incorporarse, ¿no? al agri-food sector, a toda la cadena de valor. E involucrar a los otros actores, a los jóvenes, a las familias, a crear este entorno favorable para que se pueda tener el acceso a tierra, a financiamiento y a los servicios que permitan a la mujer estar al frente también de toma de decisiones y pues de sus núcleos de producción, diría por ahí. Luz, no sé si alguien me quieras complementar.
Sí, y yo creo que estas redes de valor son súper importantes. En el marco del evento del Día de la Mujer Rural hace un par de años, en la Secretaría de Agricultura tuvimos la oportunidad de escuchar unos casos de éxito fabulosos de mujeres que han iniciado o sus negocios en una escala así y lo han ido creciendo. Yo creo que ese es el tema, ¿no? Dar visibilidad, reconocimiento, continuar lo que decíamos con el fortalecimiento de políticas públicas, promover el financiamiento, porque además hay muchos números ahí que hoy no trajimos, pero hay muchos números ahí en cuanto a que las mujeres, ¿no? Tienen esa fortaleza de organización y todo. Incluso yo estuve revisando algunos cifras en Estados Unidos del último censo y también es algo que está reconocido en este otro lado, ¿no? Creo que en general es algo que está reconocido y que las mujeres pueden ir cambiando esta percepción. Y la tecnología, y yo creo que las mujeres apreciamos mucho el valor de poder estar con la familia y de ser mujeres, entrepreneur, pero también en la familia, y yo creo que también dar ese reconocimiento, ¿no? El trabajo en el campo te puede dar esa oportunidad también.
Great, fabulous. Did we answer also Javier Valdez?
Javier.
That was the answer. That was the answer.
That was the one.
The answer in Spanish,
Okay, thank
Carrie.
you.
The last.
I know we got 2 minutes.
You want to go with the last one?
Well, yeah, we just need to try to wrap up quickly to make a couple announcements before we finish. So, but go ahead, please.
Yes, I see the last one that if we anticipate issues with facing science funding in Mexico and USA will have more impact on women than men. That's an interesting one. I would say that the impact is big in general. I will agree that that's a big challenge, and because women are already facing a big gap there, I would say yes, unless Patricia, Carrie, or someone wants to add. But I do think that, yeah, that's a reality.
So too. Listen, we thank you all. This has been our first time to really showcase the agribusiness leadership sector from Mexico. And Luz and Patty, we thank you so much for your presentation and what you put together. The slides are in Spanish, English, and French on the Connect platform. Please join Connect if you're not yet a member, and come on in. We will have 3 of these conversations a year. This is the first for this year. And you will be receiving a survey, so that we only launched Connect 1 year ago, so last March. So we're still young and working on programming across Canada, Mexico, and the United States. So we look forward to your input, your ideas, also potential future conversations. How do we tie in this conversation around workforce development and the work that we're working to accomplish together as a coalition? So I just want to thank everyone. Rebecca, thank you. Any other last minute in terms of our connectivity and our technology?
You'll all be receiving a follow-up email to join our platform if you haven't already, and thank you again for your time.
Yeah. Thank you, friends, for coming. So nice. So come on
Thank
back
you.
and we'll have some follow-up conversation. Very much
you.
appreciated. Okay.
Thank
Have
you
a
for the
great day.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. Ciao.
Thank you, guys. Okay.
Thank
Ciao,
you for
ciao.
everyone
Ciao,
who
ciao.
joined.